It looks like we're still in the F around and find out era, and breaking news has just hit the wires. And I don't know how to describe this news, but China has dropped the hammer, banning the export of rare minerals to the United States. Hello guys, and welcome back to our channel. If you haven't yet subscribed, then please do so because you will find our videos interesting and intriguing. Don't forget to turn on your notification bell so that whenever we post a video, you will be notified about it. And be part of the commenters squad by sharing your thoughts in the comment section down below. Now we're talking about gallium, germanium, and antimony, crucial components in everything from smartphone chips to electric cars and even military equipment. The US relies heavily on China for these metals, with over half of its supply coming from the Asian giant. Now, this move is a clear response to Trump's threat of 100% tariffs against BRICS nations, which has set off alarm bells about a potential trade war. It's a bold statement from China and a clear indication that they're not backing down. As we count down to Trump's second term, it's clear that we're in for a wild ride of trade tit for tat. Now, in this video, we'll be taking a deeper look into the implications of China's ban and what this means to the future of US-China relations. So with that said, let's take a look at these videos as different people share their thoughts and more information on this. I will be right back.
This is major breaking news, and this is devastating news on so many levels. I'm not even sure the full implications. China has banned the import of antimony, germanium, and gallium to the United States, among other things. Rare earth. Why is this such a problem? Well, because China produces about 86% of all rare earth. Rare earth is used for things like computer chips, defense contractors in the United States. They produce 98% of the global market on germanium, about 60% on gallium, and about 50% on antimony. So you can understand that if we don't have these materials in the United States, we're in trouble. This was the major concern. This was my major concern. This has been the Biden administration's major concern. One of the first things they did when they came into office was put together a commission to figure out where they're going to source it from. Because you can imagine, if we can't build advanced, what's our advantage over China? What's our advantage to protect Taiwan in the event that China actually attacks? This is not good news. This indicates that China is prepping to take Taiwan. This is step one. I'll keep you guys updated when I know more about how this is going to affect the US market in various different ways. Right now, to be honest with you, I don't know. This is huge.
Whoa, this is breaking news. China does not give a. In response to chip sanctions, China is banning exports to the United States that consist of gallium, germanium, antimony, all very important to the United States, but even also including diamonds and other synthetic materials. And China is a major producer of antimony, which is used in anything from flame retardants, batteries, night vision goggles, even production people. Do keep in mind, China is the biggest global source of gallium and germanium, which are needed to make computer chips for mobile phones, cars, other products, as well as solar panels and even military technology. And the US gets half of its supply of gallium and germanium from China. And according to the US Geological Survey, China exported about 25 tons of gallium in 2022 alone and produces about 660 tons of germanium per year. So this is pretty huge, and why the United States should not rely on other countries for natural resources. So do we really think that placing tariffs on all these nations of which we rely on is a good idea? So far, Trump has not been making a lot of good decisions. And do people really think that these tariffs aren't going to affect the United States economy?
As trade wars and tariffs start to escalate, China's starting to ban critical metals to the United States. Here's what they're not telling you. One of the elements that China is banning from the United States is germanium. You know what the germanium's used for? Semiconductors, fiber optics, and high-speed computer chips. Hold on, but there's more. And the other element that they're banning is gallium. Gallium's used for electronic components, solar panels, LEDs. If China bans all this, this will ensure that the United States won't have a chance in the semiconductor business. So instead of having tariffs, why don't we start to get along a little bit more? And Donald Trump, you need to chill. Otherwise, you're going to sink America even deeper.
China just blocked from the U.S. from getting rare earth minerals. These minerals are built for computers, they're built for war, they're built for everyday tech. Well, they just put a big block on that just as we speak right now. Today's December 3rd. That means they're gearing up to go up against Taiwan. Tell me, what do you guys think?
Hey guys, this is John. You're listening to Purgatory Homestead, and things are really starting to heat up. China just banned exports to the U.S. of items related to gallium, germanium, antimony, and super hard materials, and they just banned them, and that was enforced on December 1st of 2024. They're used to make, for example, the night goggle visions that you see, things like that. These rare earth minerals are used to make these things, and China had already done this. The move allows Beijing to identify supply chain dependencies on China without the U.S. military-industrial complex, like critical minerals are among the items as China dominates global mining and processing of rare earth minerals. Guys, things are getting crazy.
China just announced a ban of exports of rare earth minerals coming to the US. So what does this mean? Well, these rare earth minerals are used in all advanced technologies, from CPUs, GPUs, semiconductors, all of it. And China dominates the global supply chain of these rare earth minerals. The reason why they're doing this is because the Biden administration just announced more tariffs, bans, and restrictions on advanced technologies coming from the US to China, and on electric vehicles coming from China to the US because of data privacy concerns. So what does this mean? Well, it means that things are probably going to get more expensive. The reason why these advanced technologies will be more expensive is because Intel and Nvidia have both invested billions of dollars to onshore manufacturing jobs here in the US. And until they can get their hands on these rare earth minerals, things are going to be more expensive. And this is the inherent risk of tariffs. Other countries can do them too, not just us. Love you.
All right, did you see that news that just came down? China just announced that it is banning exports to the United States of precious metals and things that we use pretty much every single day. The ban is on 3 metals, gallium, germanium, and antimony, and it goes into effect immediately. The U.S. gets more than half of our supply of these precious metals from China, and it's used in things like chips for your phone, for all of our electric cars, most disturbingly, military equipment. This is the latest and most egregious move by China ahead of Trump's second term as we get this sort of trade tit-for-tat back and forth right now. The effects that this ban will have on our everyday lives is still yet to be clear. But it's almost certain to have some kind of effect because the US doesn't mine for these metals really yet. It's kind of like if you had this cookie, this oatmeal butterscotch cookie. The baker represents the US. The ingredients represents the precious metals for the cookie or the car or the phone or whatever. If the source of the oatmeal is cut in half, the baker's probably not going to want to finish the cookie. And if the baker still really wants to make the cookie, they're going to have to find ingredients somewhere else and they'll be more expensive. And you're going to pay more for this cookie. And that's bad.
Now, the Chinese government said it will ban exports to the US of some key components in making semiconductors, escalating trade tensions a day after Washington announced curbs targeting China's ability to make advanced chips. Now, among the materials banned from export were the metals gallium, antimony, and germanium. China's Commerce Ministry said in a statement that cited national security concerns. Exports of graphite, another component in semiconductors, would be subject to stricter reviews of end users and end users, the ministry said. Now, the curbs strengthen enforcement of existing limits on critical minerals exports that Beijing began rolling out last year, but apply only to the US market. To safeguard national security interests and fulfill international obligations such as non-proliferation, China has decided to strengthen export controls on relevant dual-use items to the United States, the ministry said. Now, gallium and germanium are used in semiconductors, while germanium is also used in infrared technology, fiber optic cables, and solar cells. Antimony is used in bees and other weaponry, while graphite is the largest component by volume of electric vehicle batteries. Now, there is concern that Beijing could next target other critical minerals, including those with even broader usage such as nickel and cobalt. China accounts for 94% of the world's production of gallium and 83% of germanium. Now, Chinese customs data shows there was no shipments of wrought and unwrought germanium or gallium to the US this year through October, when a year earlier it was the 4th and 5th largest market for the minerals. Similarly, China's overall October shipments of antimony products plunged by 97% from September after Beijing's move to limit its exports took effect. Now, on Monday, Washington announced restrictions on sales to 140 companies, including Chinese chip firms, Biotech and Sicaria, expanding efforts to curb exports of state-of-the-art chips to China that could be used in advanced weapon systems and artificial intelligence. Now, the new US rules include controls on 24 types of chip-making equipment and 3 kinds of software tools for developing or producing semiconductors. On Tuesday, China said the US had politicized and weaponized economic trade and technological issues as it unveiled its own export curbs. Now, the Chinese move also restricts the export of dual-use items to United States military users or for military purposes, Beijing said. The move is clearly a retaliatory strike at the US, said an assistant professor at Singapore's Nanyang Technological University. It drives home an important point, which is that China is not completely passive, and there are some cards it can play and hit the US with as well with regards to chips. These back and forth curbs could create supply chain disruption as well as inflationary pressures should they affect trade for third parties, said an associate professor of political science from the National University of Singapore. Now, Brady Wang, Associate Director, Technology Market Research Firm Counterpoint, told AFP that while the metals played critical roles in high-tech industries, they were upstream in the supply chain, meaning the immediate impact on production was limited. As the US-China trade tensions have persisted for some time, many intermediary manufacturers in the supply chain have been stockpiling these materials. Chinese trade associations released similarly worded statements on Tuesday, urging their members to seek local alternatives to US chips. Now, the Internet Society China called on companies to be cautious when procuring US chips, seek to expand cooperation with chip companies in other countries and regions, and actively use chips produced and manufactured in China by domestic and foreign enterprises. The China Association of Automobile Manufacturers accused Washington of having arbitrarily amended the control rules, seriously affecting the stable supply of US chip products. Now, the Chinese auto industry's trust and confidence in the procurement of US chip products is being shaken, and US auto chip products are no longer reliable and safe, the association said. We have finally come to the end of the video, but what do you, my viewers, have to say? What effects do you think this is going to have on the US? Share your thoughts, your views in the comment section, and let's have a conversation there. Thank you for always watching, and see you in our next video as we bring you another interesting video.